Everybody has a vision. Everybody has a dream. Something that needs to be captured on the big screen. We at Fort Wayne Media love taking your passion projects and bringing them to life, whether you're a passionate artist or a small business owner. With expert videography and photography, we're going to take what you love to do, what you love to make, and transform it into a cinematic experience. Fort Wayne Media. Scene 100. That feels powerful.
Yeah.
I feel powerful.
Never did 100 of anything.
All right.
Well.
Oh my God! There's never been a more perfect interrupt. That is my 2 o'clock alarm to wake up, and it picks a random song on Spotify. And
Could not be more perfect for us.
All right, let me just make sure no more alarms.
Yeah, all your wake up alarms are off?
Yeah. That was you can't script.
Yeah.
You can't script that.
That's the opener. That's the cold open.
That's the cold open.
3.8 out of 5.
Whoa, no!
That just doesn't work for us.
Sound, speeding, camera, rolling. Scene 100, take 303, mark.
No half, a no half stars on take 303. No half, a no half, a no half stars on take 303. Alright, okay, No half, a no half, no half stars on take 303.
Welcome to Take 303, powered by Fort Wayne Media, the podcast with the guy who knows a lot about film.
And his friend.
I'm Nick Molinari.
I'm JP Brooks. We're talking everything film and television, and today we are talking about the Oscars and episode 100, Take 303.
Yep, our season 2 finale, our series finale, our 100th episode, and our final episode of our initial run, basically. We may do this again in the future for just the Oscars, but yeah, this has been a long time coming, a long time planning, and it has been a mission to get you back into the studio.
It has been a mission to get Beegis on any room, on any planet, and any universe. Yeah, it's been tough. I am very excited to do this episode. We're gonna be talking a lot about the series and everything we've done so far. Like that's all coming up at the end, stuff to look forward to. That'll be towards the end, but we're here to talk about the Oscars, and I could not be more excited because Nick, I'm gonna be honest with you. We judge the shit out of movies. I judge the shit out of movies. I am so ready to tell people what is correct. This is right. You know when they start, just so you guys know, this is just my opinion. This is fact. Everything I say today is 100% fact. If you disagree, you just don't know cinema, and we even have a category for you about it.
That's going to be a great clip to clip in the reels. But yeah, so we are going to be talking about the series as a whole, talking about season 2, everything that we have done up until now. We're still going to keep this fun, and we're going to keep it fast, just like the last Broscars that we did. It was ironically our most watched episode of season 1. We weren't even reviewing movies. We weren't even trying. Like, it make it make sense.
People like rankings. And This is the ranking episode. Like, I believe if we just did a ranking of the movies that came out every month, I think people would watch that. Yeah. Which is like, back to the retrospective, what do people want? Clearly they don't want 2 more guys talking about movies who are somewhat quirky and funny. They don't need that. But this is the Broscars.
I think it would be even worse if, like, I was white.
Yeah, no, it'd be terrible. Yeah. You're right. It'd be terrible.
Just 2 white guys offering opinions. Yeah, every white guy has a podcast. Like that's what it is.
Yeah.
Like,
so part of the reason I did it is because you're brown. If you were white, I probably wouldn't do it with you.
Thank you. That was very. You did the work.
I did the work.
You did the work. Speaking of doing the work, we have our redos. Across the season, we have reviewed many films, some more than others, and we have an opportunity here to change our reviewing. And for those of you just tuning in for the very first time, why? Why are you here? But we love you. You can stay here. But just to remind everybody at home what our rules are. We review movies out of 5, no half stars, not like a pussy. You have to go. You have to just be upfront about it. If it's a 4, it's a 4. If it's a 5, it's a 5. And there's a clear difference between the two. So across the season, we can pick 3 movies that we could redo. I'll give you my first one. It was Violent Night. It was a Christmas episode that I did with my dad. and I initially gave it a 1, and I felt like that was just way too harsh. And I'm gonna bump that up to a 2.
No particular order. I am going to give Dune. Gave it a 4. I'm going to be giving it a 5.
I saw what you were doing with the numbers, and I was like, no way is he going to do that.
No, definitely giving it a 5. I watched it with Krista for the first time. Very good movie. With her for the first time, my second time. Great movie.
Mm-hmm.
Very good movie.
My second one, an infamous episode that we did for Cuckoo. I was way, not that Cuckoo, but I was way too harsh on it, and I initially gave it a 1. I'm going to bump that up to a 2.
I respect you for that one. I think that's one for you, definitely. All right. Next up, Long Legs. Initially, I gave it a 4. I'm giving it a 5. Mm-hmm. All of mine are positive.
It seems like, yeah, we're just bumping things up, and honestly, my next one is a bump, too. I'm not sure if you got around to seeing this one, but Gladiator 2. I feel like, again, I was a bit harsh on it. If I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? I think my biggest issue is that it's just not a Gladiator movie. Like, to attach it to Russell Crowe's film, which is just absolutely amazing, like a pure classic, something that probably deserved 13 nominations at the Oscars, but didn't. And you know what? Just like tacking on the 2 to it and giving it this story, I feel like if you didn't say it was Gladiator 2 and just made a Gladiator, like just a random Gladiator movie, called it like Coliseum or something
Swords
like
and Sandals.
Yeah. I feel like I would have enjoyed it much more. Realistically, it's probably a 3, and that's what I'm going to bump it up to.
For me, the last one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Last one. Alien Romulus, I gave it 3. I'm giving it a 4. I think it is a good movie. And as we munch on the popcorn,
Yeah.
is there no cinematic news?
There's no cinematic news.
Cinematic news!
I mean, we could talk about cinematic news. We're filming this, like, 3 weeks ahead of the Oscars, and there is just so much Oscar drama going on right now. Like, between Amelia Perez and all the crazy stuff that Carla Sofia Gascon is saying, all the stuff that the director is saying. He just came out in an interview. He said that Spanish is for poor people, like the language of poor people. I'm like, you just don't want to work or like ever win an Oscar. Like, I don't know what you're trying. Brutalist is getting shit for using AI to round out the accents. Honora is getting shit for not having an intimacy coordinator on set. So at the end of the day, who's left? I guess Dune is just taking it. Donkey, like, yeah, he's going for it. Now, this is something that I hid from you. These are the statistics of both season 1 and season 2. Before we head into our awards ceremony, we just want to look at season 1 and 2 real quick. We can also toss this up on the screen just so you guys can see what we're seeing. And across season 1 and 2 together, we have reviewed total on the podcast 142 reviews, 131 that you were there for.
Wow.
Across season 1, we did 90. Season 2 was 51. And looking at all of our 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 ratings, realistically, we're very much matched up.
I'm impressed.
We even out on almost every single thing. And if you look at the math, I am the more critical critic.
How are you? You gave more 5s than anyone.
But look at the 2s. The 2s and the 1s at the very bottom.
18, 14, 32, 25.
You're looking at the percentages, though.
I don't care about percent. I want hard numbers, brother.
No. If you do hard numbers, I'm always going to outmatch you because I did more reviews.
Oh, true.
So you have to look at percentages. So just by I think 2%, I'm that much more critical than you.
Yeah, but I gave way more 3s.
You would call a movie average before me. I would call it dog shit.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. So.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. It's an interesting layout of how we went about these reviews, and also when you think about it, you reviewed 131 movies. That's a lot.
That's a lot of movies. Interesting. Wow. Even though you watch more movies, you gave 41 movies a 2 or a 1, and I only did that 32. Interesting. But I would also argue that is the 11 movies. That's like 8 of the 11 movies. But interesting. You are. I guess you are harsher, Nick. That's interesting.
By a little bit, just by 2%.
Season 1, you were way more kind than me.
Yeah, I was
Way more kind.
I was coming in like, we're on camera.
And I became way nicer in Season 2. Interesting. We flip-flopped.
Ironically, and you would think with your mental breakdowns that you were going to be more.
I think, as people have said about me, when Joe's having a good day, he's having a great day. But when it's a bad day, man, it's a terrible day. Highs are highs, lows are lows. When I'm having a 1 moment, it's a fucking 1.
The only person to feel bad about on this chart is Eddie. Eddie went through the works in Season 2.
He did. Holy shit.
I mean, he was on, like, you had a really good win streak later on in Season 2. He had the worst lose streak of all time.
Take my L's, buddy. Take my L's.
I mean, this is coming from the guy who, quote, said Nosferatu was going to sweep at the Oscars. Never did. Not even close. Had 1 nomination. But now, on to our main event. This is the Broscars. It's the Oscars for the bros. No 3-hour telecast. No suits. Just the hardest rankings and predictions. So we're going to run through our Broscar Awards. We're going to name some nominations. Also, we got to talk. If we're going to do a Remember Morium after this, the way you eat popcorn is just unmatched. You just like manhandle your popcorn and you like shovel it into your mouth. I'm over here dainty just pulling one out. And like every time we go to the movies, you're done in like 5 minutes because you're just maximizing the amount that you could put in. And I'm over here like, oh, I still have like half a bag left.
I'm a gabon when it comes to popcorn. I'm
A gabon.
I'm definitely 1 finger popcorning it right now. So.
All right, so the Broscars. We're gonna go alternating, and we're gonna talk about the nominees very quickly and decide amongst ourselves who deserves these Broscars.
Nick will say what he likes. I'll say my pick, and then we will come to a conclusion together. That part might get edited out. We usually sometimes do discussion.
Yeah, we trim.
Sometimes we can just look at each other and know. Sometimes we'll both agree.
So, starting us off, a classic, most overrated film of the year. The nominees are Kinds of Kindness, Beetlejuice, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, Woman of the Hour, and Conclave. That was a last-minute ad for you, Conclave, putting that in, like, oof.
It's a little overrated.
If I had to pick something, I would go Kinds of Kindness.
I would go Beetlejuice, but since you've seen more of these movies, I'm going to defer to you for the pick.
Well, Kinds of Kindness is the guy that made Poor Things, and he was like coming off that hype train. And what I think it was is that this movie was this was on the shelf, and Poor Things like killed last year, and they were like, release it, just gun it. And it just didn't live up to the hype. But I think Beetlejuice upset me more.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I love the original. I rewatched it. And honestly, I had such like a weird thing with it because I was like, I don't know why this is good. Like, Beetlejuice is not necessarily a story. And a lot of the stakes in the original don't really work. I think it's just so like whimsical that it just works. And when it came to this second one, I felt like it was living too much on nostalgia. There weren't enough stakes. Monica Bellucci was a terrible, terrible villain. Dies like immediately in 5 seconds.
Beetlejuice almost feels like it should be in the category of nostalgia lens. The nostalgia lens for it. That's where it belongs. But since it's in here, I am picking it because I think when you have the nostalgia to it, plus everything else, super overrated. If you're ready, I'm ready.
I'm ready. Most overrated film of the year goes to
Beetlejuice. Next up is the most underrated movie of the year, and we have a lot on here, so bear with us. We've got Hitman, Rebel Ridge, It's What's Inside, Abigail, My Old Ass, Speak No Evil, and Fall Guy. Now, it goes without saying, I am going to be talking the shit out of Abigail this entire podcast about I think it's a great movie. But underrated, well, obviously, if they're underrated, we think they're all good, right? So all of these, I think, are deserving. If you haven't seen any of these movies over here, we think they're ones that deserve a better rating or like aren't appreciated. So go watch them. My first pick would be obviously Abigail. My Old Ass, I eventually got around to watching it. Great. Yeah. So
you love your coming of age film, so I knew you would love that.
Yeah, I did, and I'm really glad you recommended me. Speaking of you, I would be happy with any of these. I do have a soft spot for Fall Guy, but I think Fall Guy's going to win in other places. So I almost want to, because it's like underrated, I want to give it somewhere else. I want to give it to Abigail.
I feel the same way. I rewatched Fall Guy and I was like, this is so good. And for like someone in film, like, you know, it works for you. I will definitely shout out Hitman. I think that's another one that if you're an actor and you love like really good performances, Glenn Powell really kills it in that movie. And Rebel Ridge is coming from the same guy that did Blue Ruin and The Green Room. It was super, super fun. Didn't expect anything in it. And I think that's what's the best thing about it, because like last night I saw Companion, and it's like I didn't see the trailer at all, and there were so many surprises in that movie, and it just was funny. It was horrifying. It was action packed. It had everything, and I think that's where I'm leaning. I know which one it should be.
And the most underrated movie of the year goes to
Abigail.
I was like, with all the talks about the other ones, I'm like, wait, are we pivoting? I'm ready to go Hitman. It's Abigail.
Yeah, you were right.
All right.
Most mid movie of the year. For the movies that just kind of were white noise in the background, and the nominees are Cuckoo, Spaceman, The Watchers, and A Quiet Place Day One.
Really tough to pick here. These are some really mid fucking movies. I know
a lot of people are going to be on your ass about adding A Quiet Place in there.
Oh, come on, please.
But I think Cuckoo is just not everyone's kind of movie, so I feel like it can't be mid. I think The Watchers is something that really popped out to me because it had such a great premise, dropped the ball in the middle, became this whole other thing at the end, and I think Spaceman really just like coasted.
It all depends on what you think mid is. I think great because it was between me. It's between Spaceman and The Watchers. Mm-hmm. Are we looking for a pure coast, or are we looking for something that just didn't live and ended up being just kind of meh? I think it all depends on. I think this is literally what do you think mid means? Because I think it's Spaceman or The Watchers.
So the Broscar for most mid movie of the year goes to Spaceman.
Best stunt coordination of the year.
Fall Guy.
Fall Guy. It's the Fall Guy, but the nominees were The Fall Guy, Furiosa, Deadpool and Wolverine, Kill, Monkey Man, Easy's category. All those, I'm sure all those movies doing great things, but if you love cinema and the stunts behind it, there is no better movie. And the Broscar for the best stunt coordination goes to The Fall Guy.
Bouncing off of that, the nominees for Best Action Star are Anya Taylor-Joy in Furiosa, Hugh Jackman in Deadpool and Wolverine, and Ryan Gosling in The Fall Guy. We actually didn't nominate a lot of people there, I guess because Tom Cruise wasn't making movies this year.
Yeah.
I think they're all really great. I feel like we missed a nom here, and I kind of want to put them in because I got to, always do one for my paisans. I think Dev Patel and Monkey Man.
That's fair. That's fair.
I think that one didn't get enough love this year. I actually it was the first time I ever went to a movie twice because I just loved it so much. And I was like, I kind of did want to like kind of spike the box office a little bit just by being one guy at the Alpine. It's not going to spike anything. Like it's $8 a matinee, $6 on a Wednesday. I wasn't spiking anything.
This guy's spiking it. And the Broscar for Best Action Star goes to Dev Patel. And the funniest movie of the year. The nominees for the Broscar are Saturday Night, Inside Out 2, Drive Away Dolls, Director's Cut, Am I Racist? Oh, just remembering these movies. All of them are good.
We should definitely add another award next time for Best Theater Experiences.
Yeah.
That's a good one. If we're talking about the movie itself, I think nothing brought us more joy than Am I Racist?
Yeah. Excuse me. Am I Racist? I think all these movies are funny in their own right. But if we're talking a pure comedy, because they don't make comedies like they used to, I think Driveway Dolls is a good mention there. Definitely, I'm glad it's on the list. But yeah, I know what. Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Well, the funniest movie of the year, the Broscar goes to Am I Racist?
Building off of that, for Best Blockbuster Film of the year, the nominees are Furiosa, Deadpool and Wolverine, The Fall Guy, Alien Romulus, Deborah Part 1, Bad Boys Ride or Die, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I'm not sure how this one got on there. Twisters.
This is actually, I think, the toughest one. Not just because there's a lot of them, but there's a lot of good ones on here.
So honestly, I wouldn't be mad if any of these won over the other. I think in terms of theater experiences, I think the feeling in the room in Deadpool and Wolverine was absolutely unmatched. And then for me, the second one that had like a crazy experience was Devara Part 1. It's a Tollywood film. I don't understand Telugu. I'm studying Hindi right now. It makes no sense for why I would have went to go see it, but I just saw that it was a full house, and I was like, this could be cool. I go there. apparently the actor in this movie is like a god to these people, and whenever he showed up on screen or did something cool, they cheered. He did something cool on screen every 5 to 7 minutes for 3 hours and 5 minutes. They never settled down. One girl dressed up as one of the characters did a recreation of the dance sequence in the movie in the theater. People were filming her. They were going crazy. AMC had to put up signs that said, "Stop bringing your confetti canisters to these movies."
No way.
It is the best movie experience I've ever had in my entire life. But yeah, I think in terms of blockbuster, I think it has to do with the people there.
Yeah. It's people, set pieces, all that stuff. I'm glad Bad Boys is on here. It's not a perfect movie, but it is a blockbuster. And a lot of people did go out to see it.
Yeah, I re-saw the Reggie sequence the other day. It just showed up on YouTube, and I was like, that was so fun.
That was fun. But I think there's only one pick for me, and I think it is the movie that will be most remembered for 2024. And I don't think there's any other pick.
And the Broscar for Best Blockbuster of the Year goes to
Deadpool and Wolverine. And honestly, Deadpool and Wolverine could have been funniest movie of the year as well.
Yeah.
Let's just be clear about that. All right. Well, this is my favorite category. The best movies to fall asleep during. And here are the nominees. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Strong contender right off the bat. Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F. Trap. Oof. Terry Baton, Main Asia Udal Jiha. Okay, let me start.
I'll tell you, buddy, I'm learning Hindi. I can't do a better version of that. Let it roll.
I didn't realize it was Hindi. I just started reading one word. Terry Baton. Terry Baton, Many Asia Uta Jiha. That's what we're going to go with. Unfrosted, Book of Clarence, Imaginary, Die Hard 2, Die Hard Her, and Tarot. Wow, this is a tough one.
Yeah, so many good naps that I remember from these movies. But I think what is unmatched is watching my dad take 6 naps during Tarot and still understanding the entire movie.
The movie I remember falling asleep to the most on here personally, and like until I said it out loud, wow, Book of Clarence.
You were ready to walk out on that one, and I kept you from doing that. You saved that for another episode. But I remember that one, we were just sitting there and we were just waiting for things to happen, and we were just like, so we should like go, right? And I was like, I think we should see the rest of the movie. Like, I don't know if it will redeem itself. Honestly, that kind of was a strong contender for mid.
Yeah.
Because it just existed. It was a movie. I don't know what it was saying.
And you can think about it now, like who's talking about the Book of Clarence a year from now?
No.
Nobody. So I'm down for Tarot or Book of Clarence. So, best movie to fall asleep during to, the Broscar goes to Tarot.
Side note, Eddie, in full confidence, was trying to tell me that this movie is pronounced Tarot.
What an idiot. That's why he's only on 10 movies.
And I'm like, what is wrong with you? That's clearly tarot. And he's like, so when you get your thing read, he goes, you have tarot cards. I was like, no, you don't.
It's Tarot.
Tarot. Everyone knows the second T is silent.
If you believe in the multiverse, I want to see the multiverse where Eddie's doing this podcast and I'm doing it with him. I want to see the multiverse.
I'll tell you one thing, it wouldn't have gotten to episode 100.
It would not have. All right.
As soon as he introduces, he's like, today we're talking about the movie Tarot. And you're just like, no.
Tarot.
And then you just walk out.
Yeah.
Speaking of, the Broscar for strongest back in a movie.
Great category.
Solid category. Strong category. And the nominees for strongest back goes to Salika in Trap, N.T. Rama Rao Jr. in Deborah Part 1, Jason Statham in The Beekeeper, Jesse Plemons in Kinds of Kindness, Glenn Powell in Twisters, Conor McGregor in Roadhouse, and Eddie for holding it down when JP couldn't while watching Buddy Mian, Choti Mian. Literally,
What a back.
The strongest I've seen. Because I didn't know you could walk out of a movie.
I could, yeah.
And you could. And you were just like, I'll see you guys at the podcast. Just like, because you were good about it. You were like, I would never abandon you, Nick. But because Eddie is here, peace.
Yeah, if Eddie wasn't there, I'm suffering with you. Like, I'm just, like, going to go outside, like, watch YouTube. Well, the worst part was I could have made it, but my phone was dying and my charger. Anyway.
Clearly, there's only one winner here. The Broscar for strongest back goes to
Eddie. And the next Broscar nominees are for the most empowering to women. And the movies are nominee: Woman of the Hour, All We Imagine Is Light, Challengers, Furiosa, Alien Romulus, Crew, Drive Away Dolls, and Lisa Frankenstein.
But one that I definitely want to highlight, because I feel like it also didn't get enough love this year, Drive Away Dolls.
Yeah.
And to think we almost saw that with your mom.
Yeah.
Oof.
Oof. Would have been rough.
That's a silent car right now.
I just want to point out for Challengers, I think the closeted homosexuality of two male tennis players is what really empowered Zendaya. And I'm glad that the homosexuality of men is what really got her forefront. She felt like the most powerful boss bitch in the room compared to those two.
Honestly, I forgot about the churros.
Oh my God, the churros!
We almost made shirts for that.
The Broscar for the most empowering to women goes to Drive Away Dolls. All right, we're going back to B because we X'd the category, and what it is, guess you'll never know. The best needle drop in reference to music. Here are the nominees for this Broscar: All Is Well by Taylor Swift in The Fall Guy, Greatest Day by Take That in Anora, Bye 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 in Deadpool and Wolverine, One Less Lonely Girl by Justin Bieber in My Old Ass.
And that's it.
And that's it.
Yeah. Every single one of these was like either a laugh out loud moment or just something that you were like, yeah, that's a good song. And I think nothing really compares to the needle drop in Anora.
Nothing. Yeah.
Like as soon as that movie started, I was like, oh shit.
Hold up, hold up. I listen to that song all the time.
If there's anything that you need to get yourself out of a rut, it's that song.
Yeah. And the Broscar for the best needle drop goes to
Greatest Day.
All right, moving on.
It really was a great day when I heard that song.
The net. Ooh, yeah. Good category. Good category.
Right. Solid category. Got to flex the muscles for this one. All right, the Broscar for the best nipples in a movie is an award that we take very seriously in this room.
I've only got one on here. It's weird. Same as last year. I've only got one nominee. But anyway, you tell me what's on yours.
Yeah. All right. So the nominees for best nipples in a movie are two-time nominee Florence Pugh in We Live in Time. Also, two-time nominee Emma Stone in Kinds of Kindness. A double nominee, Margaret Qualley, really doing the work this year in Drive Away Dolls and The Substance.
That's 4 nipples. The same.
Really stacking the deck, if you will. Demi Moore, coming out of left field in The Substance, and Hugh Jackman in Deadpool and Wolverine.
Lots of good choices. Again, I've only got one.
Yeah, one really stands out among the others. Yeah. I think we both know what it is.
Yes, we do.
All right, so the Broscar for best nipples in a movie goes to Hugh Jackman. Did it to you again. You really thought we would mess that one up? No.
No. The next category, it's a new one, and forgive me, the lot of them here same as best blockbuster. So just bear with me as we get through the nominees. So this one is least deserving of 13 Oscar nominations. And the nominees are Amelia Perez. All right, Nick, what do you want to go with for this category?
Lots of great choices here, JP.
I mean, look, you've got Amelia Perez. And yeah, and when you compare it to Amelia Perez, really...
Yeah, so I guess...
I don't even need to say anything else.
Yeah, I know where I'm at.
Yeah. You got it? Okay. Least deserving of 13 Oscar nominations, and the Broscar goes to Amelia Perez. The next category is the most cinematic cinema film of cinema. This is a movie. These are movies that surpass cinema itself, that go beyond. If you're too much of an NPC, you just wouldn't understand. The nominees are All We Imagine as Light, Dune Part 2, Longlegs.
Yeah. I thought of this after seeing one of these movies. I won't tell you which one, but I just watched this movie and I'm just like, you know what? There are movies that are just so cinematic. It's just like you can't comprehend it if you're just an average person. Like it's just too much cinema. From what I understand, it's called a meditative film, where you're supposed to feel emotions and not necessarily a story, and that it's supposed to evoke feelings instead of tell the traditional 3-act structure. And I was like, damn, you could have not told me how pretentious you are in less words.
And the most cinematic of cinema film of cinema, the most cinematic cinema film of cinema, the Broscar goes to All We Imagine as Light.
Hollywood has the Razzies. We have the baddies. It's the baddest movie of the year. And honestly, there were so many.
So many.
So many options.
And all in January and February.
Ooh, that was a rough 2 months. I would love to never see movies in January ever again. But the nominees for the baddie are Buddy Mian, Choti Mian, Night Swim, Megaflopolis, Argyle, Tarot, A Joker, Foley Adu, and Amelia Perez.
This is, I've been saying for a few minutes, this is actually the toughest one. This is one I'm taking the most seriously.
Yes, we have to.
This is putting a mark and saying this was the worst film to come out. Now, I'm going to say this right off the bat. Badi Mian, Choti Mian, to me is so terrible, it's not, I don't consider it a piece of film.
So Eddie keeps saying, like, no, it's objectively the worst one. I was like, I'll tell you, buddy, I didn't have the best time there, but it gets way worse. I have to mention it almost in every episode. We saw a movie about a ghost pool. That's a legit movie that got greenlit. It's about a ghost in a pool. Just go away from the pool. Don't swim. Especially at night. Megaflopolis, we knew it was going to be bad. Argyle, I feel like, just disappointed the hell out of us.
So disappointing.
From Matthew Vaughn, no less.
Yeah. If there was ever a category where I literally think you could give this to any movie on this list, and I would be okay with it, this is the category. Arrow. Yes, it's a snoozer, but this is about being terrible. Like, human dog shit.
I don't disagree with a lot of what you just said, minus the Buddy Mian, Choti Mian slander.
Yeah.
Amelia Perez,
I
don't even know what went on in that category. I feel like, for me, it's between that and Night Swim. Like, those are two films that, like, what was going on in the writing room?
Yeah, and I forgot because Amelia Perez was writing. Yeah, just to say about Amelia Perez, I can't give a full rating for that, and which is why I'm going to defer to you actually to make the final call on this, because I just saw clips of some of the music about Amelia Perez. Holy crap, terrible.
Yes.
Actual terrible. So I think you're the best person to make the decision on this. You are the director, and I think it's only fitting that in our last Broscar, I think pulling out the director card here for the worst, if there was ever a time to pull it, you've never pulled it, now is the time to pull it.
Yeah, I'll give you my justification for this.
Okay.
Between Night Swim and Amelia Perez, there are drastically different budgets, there are drastically different filmmaking teams, and there are drastically different starting points. Where I feel Night Swim is based off of a short film. And we, as people, as filmmakers, we have been at the very bottom of, like, micro budgets. Like, we deal in the hundreds and the thousands, not hundreds of thousands.
Hundreds of dollars.
Yeah. We are at the bottom of indie filmmaking, and honestly, to see something like Night Swim go from short film to feature film, that is impressive.
You are rooting for it in some sense.
I am rooting for it in some sense, the same way I rooted for Director's Cut. I was like, good on you, dude. You got a movie into a handful of theaters. I haven't done it yet. I hat off to you. And for Night Swim, I feel like, yes. Is it the stupidest idea for a movie?
Of course.
Yeah, no one's questioning that. But the fact that you got that to theaters, I'm going to give you some brownie points for that.
And the same for Director's Cut. That's why it's not on here.
Right. And on the flip side, you have Amelia Perez, with a director who is somewhat renowned in France. I never heard of him until Amelia Perez. So for someone like that to come out of here and just go out of your way to just make a movie that you think is really good, by not studying anything about Mexico, just relaying all the trans stuff to your trans actor, and just using AI and Google Translate to work on your script, not even knowing the language to your movie, like, that's pretty bad. And I think if there's anything that upsets me more is those 13 nominations. The movie itself, objectively looking at it, there is some good cinematography, I will say, here and there. Some of it is a little ass. But overall, if you talk about its production, it doesn't look bad, it doesn't sound bad, but the music, the dialogue sounds bad. And when it comes to Amelia Perez, nothing more upsets me than it getting 13 nominations, 2 more than The Godfather, and going up to the ranks of things like Forrest Gump and Titanic. So I think...
Wow. That is a good argument. Nick, of all the arguments you've made, that is a solid argument.
Yeah, I think the reason why it's getting the baddie, I think if you haven't figured it out by now, is because it is an affront to cinema. The same way that you think Buddy Mian, Choti Mian isn't a movie,
Yeah.
I think this taints the history of cinema. And for that, the baddie for 2025, the Broscar goes to
Amelia Perez. Also, I think Night Swim not winning the one award it was in is the most Night Swim thing you could possibly do. So it being, it almost being like runner up to worst movie might actually be worse than the worst movie. Like, oh, so yeah, I Nick, that was a great. I know I've done my rants before.
Yeah.
You just saved your best rant for a terrible movie for the 100th episode.
I told you, if we did an Amelia Perez one, I would have been screaming. If we went to the theater, I would have been screaming.
Disappointing. My bad for fucking up the last 2 months of this podcast.
No, we didn't know. We didn't know.
All right.
Speaking of things we don't know about. Sorry.
That was your best transition ever, too. This guy's fucking nailing it.
On it. Speaking of things we don't know about, let's talk about our Oscar predictions. We're going to go through this. We have not selected what we want yet. We're going to do this live. We're going to do this fast. And we are going to pick from all the categories. No changes from now.
No changes.
We are doing a ballot the same way we did with the Globes. JP is our resident Globe Gobbler.
I am the Globe Gobbler.
And we have Eddie coming back into the ballots. We got Pete. We got X-Bob. We got a couple more guests that we haven't had on the show that we wish we could have. Some women, because we like to empower them. And
wait, Am I Racist is not on the Oscars?
No.
Fuck them, dude.
Yeah. No, that had no shot. Mainly because of who made it. So the Oscar predictions from here on out. Makeup and hairstyling. I think if it gets anything, I want it to kind of be a different man.
Nosferatu for me.
All right. Costume design. I'm going actually Nosferatu on that one.
Interesting. I'm going Wicked.
Documentary short film. I've seen none of these.
Yeah, so I'm going with the one with the best title in my opinion.
I'm going The Only Girl in the Orchestra.
That's what I went with.
Okay.
Hey, yeah.
Documentary feature film. Seen none of these.
Yep.
Let's go. I'm gonna go Black Box Diaries.
That, I
cool.
literally just circled that. It was between that and Porcelain War. Okay.
It was either that. I think a soundtrack to a coup d'état. You know what? Maybe I'll change it.
Okay. No changing.
No changing.
No changing. After.
Yeah. Animated short film. Again, I've seen none of these. Gonna go for Wander to Wonder.
I'm gonna go with Yuck. Yeah.
Solid pick. Live action short film. I'm gonna go Anuja because that's coming from India.
I'm gonna go The Last Ranger.
All right. Production design.
Oof.
I'm gonna go Nosferatu.
I'm going Conclave.
Actually, I'm gonna change that.
You going Dune?
No, I'm going Brutalist.
Interesting. I thought you were gonna go with
Visual effects.
Alien Romulus.
Dune. Get out of town. It's not even close.
Not even close.
Not even close. Sound. I'm gonna go with Dune.
Dune, yeah, definitely going Dune.
But I feel like it also could be a complete unknown. That movie is like just pure music. Original score. Oh. I'm gonna go Conclave.
I am going The Wild Robot, just from what I've heard. That was my gut.
Original song. It better not be that bullshit from Amelia Perez. But honestly, I don't know if anything's gonna really compete with it. Honestly, I'm gonna go El Mal.
I'm going with El Mal from Amelia Perez.
Yeah, that's the only one that I'll give it, even though it's a terrible song.
I'm going with Never Too Late, Elton John, because I believe in John.
International feature film. I'm gonna go with I'm Still Here.
Ooh, yeah. I'll go with that one too.
I hear a lot of things about it. Animated feature film. So many really good movies.
Yep. I'm going with Inside Out 2 being a basic bitch. So
I'm gonna go Flow.
Here we go.
Editing. I'm gonna go Brutalist.
That's actually what I was gonna go with.
Cinematography. Ooh. I'm gonna go Brutalist.
I'm going Dune.
Those were the two that I could have gone between. Original screenplay.
Not even close. Honora. That's the one where I'm just going with my heart. That's what I want. I think The Brutalist is the objective winner, but I'm going with my gut.
I want it to be Honora, but I think it could be Brutalist or Real Pain.
Yeah.
Really, it's anybody's guess there, but I feel like maybe politically a Real Pain might not get it.
Sure.
I'm gonna go Honora. I think it's Sean Baker's year. Adapted screenplay.
I'm going Nickel Boys.
That would be actually a good pick for cinematography. I saw it the other day. But for adapted, I'm gonna go Conclave. Actually.
Yeah, I think that's the right one. I said I was gonna. No, I'm gonna try to win. I'm going with my heart.
You got to do it. Supporting actress.
I'm going Ariana Grande.
That's a bold choice, Cotton.
I think she deserves it.
I'm not saying she doesn't. I just don't think it's that time.
I think she carried the film.
Strongest back.
I would give her strongest back.
I don't know, man. I'm just gonna go Isabella.
I hope Ariana Grande gets it.
Supporting actor. I know where you want to go with this, but
I'm not actually going there.
Oh, I'm going Guy Pearce.
That's where I'm going.
Actress. I might go Demi Moore here.
Mikey Madison. This one I'm going to her.
I'm stuck between Demi Moore and Fernanda Torres. I feel like I'll go Fernanda. Actually, I'm gonna.
That's a good pick.
I'm gonna switch it.
Where are you going?
Actor.
Where'd you go?
I went Fernanda.
You went Fernanda? Okay.
Yeah. Best actor.
Ooh, it's a tough one.
It's honestly Adrian Brody or Ralph Fiennes. I'm going Adrian Brody.
I'm going with Fiennes.
Director.
Oh, yeah.
All of these people.
Man.
This would be their first win, so it's anyone's guess at who gets it. I'm going Brady Corbet.
I would be happy. I'm happy if The Brutalist or Honora wins. I'm going Honora. I want to... They don't make movies like Honora like they used to. Best Picture. Oh,
Best Picture of the year. The biggest award. Honestly, I've been like...
This is tough.
Yeah, but like all my picks, I've been leaning Brutalist on a lot of these. I'm just going to have to go for the full thing. What I think was going to happen is Brutalist is going to get somewhere between 3 to 5 of the top awards. And I think that's how it's going to go.
This is the one where you're going to bet against your favorite film.
Oh, yeah, because my favorite film, objectively, out of these is Dune.
I'm going Dune. My heart, I would be the happiest if Honora wins. This is like betting against your team. Because if you're wrong, you lose money, but your team wins. But if you're right, you win money, right? So like this is going for the game winner. That's how I feel about Dune, but I really think Dune, when I went back to watch it, I give it 5. That is movie of the year. Like, what an epic sci-fi journey. Which is going to be ironic, because, like, my top 10 movies of the year may not actually reflect it's like Oscar predictions, right?
Yeah.
So, I think last year I learned in a painful way, regardless of what I think, the Oscars going to do the Oscars. So I'm trying to think like the Oscars really for these picks. Some of them, not all of them. I'm doing a lot more this year.
Think like an asshole. Think like an asshole.
And Honora is too small budget. The story is so good, the Oscars could not let them win. So there's no way they can pick Honora, because Honora is too good for itself. Fuck you, Oscars. Let's go, Honora. I'm still picking Dune.
So the Oscars has the memoriam where they remember all the people who have passed away in the industry over the course of the year.
Oh, James Earl Jones is going to be on there this year, right?
Yeah. It's a big one. So we have a memoriam where we remember all the things about us. And we're still alive and kicking, and we're just talking about ourselves. So just some self-masturbatory work here. We're looking back at season 1 and season 2. So many different setups. We started as an audio-only podcast, and we thought that would work. We were wrong. We had 5 different setups. One where we were sitting across from each other here. We had the one where we put you in the corner over there. We had the major one where we were sitting across from each other, not really realizing it would be the easiest way to squeeze in guests right next to us for like 40 episodes. We had the one downstairs when we had more than one guest. When we had the Hurtler sisters, when we had Eddie and Pete on. And then our final position, which is what you see right now. Not to mention the 6th one that you were almost about to make us do today.
The couch, yeah.
After you said you hate couches.
Yeah, I hate couches.
And imagine if we were both on a couch holding this mic in our hands, how you would have gone through like a minute of that and been like, I was wrong. We got to go back up. So many different sets. We did so many different segments.
I just on the set thing. What is your favorite setup that we had? I know what mine is.
Favorite setup, I think, is this. It was very awkward at the beginning because I didn't like turning
the camera.
And I was like, this feels weird, but this feels like the most natural for a podcast. It almost feels like a news broadcast. What about you?
I like the corner to corner, only because I think I have more favorable memories of some of the movies we did, which goes back to like I see at the bottom all-time favorite episode. I know what my all-time favorite episode is.
You're gonna save it.
I know we're gonna save it, but like I think, and that's why I like the setup more about what we talked about.
Yeah, because when I say it, it's like that cross the table, giant table, double camera, double webcams, trying to figure out that darn echo and actually achieving it for 30 straight episodes. But that was one that we did across season 1 and 2. It was the longest setup we've had.
Yeah.
And it really does feel like it wasn't take 3 or 3 if we weren't like directly across from each other. Like that felt more like a radio show. This one feels like a weather station.
Yeah. And I think we learned a lot even from the setup. Like and I'm going to be interjecting a lot with questions and thoughts about this. Like I think even the journey of finding the right setup taught us so much. Even learning how to set things up, when to set them up. Like, I want to be very clear, and I'm going to say this at the top, and I'll probably say it again. Nick has done way more work than I have for this podcast, without question. This was Nick's idea, like, from the start, as we look back. Like, I would even want to say, before we get into anything else, what made you want to do this?
I was talking with Peter Curto, and he was like, you guys should kind of just produce your own content and like do something where you can like be creative and like constantly put out stuff and like, see if something hits. And we kind of explored that option in high school. If you look at our intro video, there's a lot of little clips from things that skits and the first podcast that we tried to make before podcast was even a thing. That was when YouTube was reigning supreme and like Jenna Marbles was like peak YouTube, and we were like, we could do that, and we were wrong. And there's one part of it though in like episode, I think we only did like 5 or 6 episodes of it. It was What's Joe Thinking, and it was the bacon episode, and I only remembered it as you cooking bacon and telling me 20 things that is good about bacon. And one of those is like, you could be a bacon slut. Like, it was so funny. And I forgot that there's an ending to that video where we were always teasing it that I was like the guy behind the camera, and like sometimes I appear and I'm like, oh, let's go find Joe, and you're in your shower but you're fully clothed.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, hey, what's up, guys? And the ending of that episode is just us eating bacon on your couch, and I'm like, that was just so instinctively funny because there is this kind of like back and forth that we can do and we can pull out of each other and make it interesting. And I know a lot of people say like, oh yeah, I can make a podcast, and like if I'm there with my best friend, like we could do funny things, and like sometimes it's only funny to you. And like we've heard different things. Like we've I think we've been played in like 11 or 12 different countries, so I don't know what their experience was with what they saw, but I think like genuinely, like I had to reach out to the only person that I could do a podcast with, because if I did it with my dad, probably would have ended in 2 episodes. If I did it with Eddie, he would have kept telling me that tarot is a thing. Like there was only, I think, one person that I could genuinely bounce like a lot of information off of, and someone that you give me a lot of credit for saying like I do a lot of like the behind the scenes work. Like, yeah, I am a chart guy. Like all this stuff, that stuff, that is me. But when it comes to like some of the segments we did, when it comes to fake ads, some of my favorite memories of doing this podcast is just shouting nonsense to you across the room, and you giving it right back and creating just some of the wildest commercials possible. The best one easily was Thanksgiving.
I don't even remember. I just remember being really sexual. I don't know.
I forget who it was, but it was like Tony's Turkey Stuffers or something like that.
I'll stuff your turkey.
Yeah. I put that ultra sexy jazz music underneath it.
Oh, man.
I got that slow motion stock footage of people just stuffing turkeys. And it was like, I'll stuff your turkey, your sister's turkey, your mother's turkey, but not your brother's. And I was just like, it just felt like we were living out SNL here every single time. And I knew it was like, you know, on you a lot.
Yeah, I appreciate. Yeah, I was more thinking. I was like, it was just interesting to hear you like produce our own content, do it with somebody else, and let's do it. I'll be honest. When I came into this, my whole perception was like, I don't know what Nick's looking for.
Well, interesting enough, because I don't delete text. So like I remember the initial text that I sent you, and I was like, "Hey, want to make a podcast about reviewing movies?" And you were like, "Buddy, there would make nothing would make me happier than just shitting on movies." Like that was the sell. There was no pushback at all. And yeah, I remember we were just like, you had done podcasting before. You were, I think, guesting on a bunch of, like a handful of podcasts. And you were like, okay, I'm not an expert, but like I know like some of the things we definitely need to do in preparation. And we, again, like, you know, we say that a lot of this, you know, is charts and me just typing things out. But we do have planning meetings. Like we had a planning meeting for this episode. Like there's a lot of planning that goes into this. We designed the name of the podcast. It had to be just right. It had to be something that flowed off the tongue. If you watch Silicon Valley, it had to be something that was orgasmic, like just something you could just shout out, like take 303. Like it just that you had to feel it. And we came up with the Broscars. We came up with these commercials. We came up with cinematic news. Coming up with the jingle. The single cinematic news. Like a lot of these things were planned. We planned out so many different segments. Between the fake ads, we had the what ifs, which really just like fizzled out very quickly because they only work between people that really know like movies. Pure cinema. And we were reviewing 2 movies a week.
I can't believe the two. Like, what were we doing?
Who did we think we were?
Truly 2 men who had too much free time at the time, and then slowly over time as things ramp up, like season 1 pushed us to the limit of what we could do, and season 2 was more of the reality of what. Like anytime you do something for the first time, it's good just to get it out there, and I think that's what we really learned in season 1. And I am so proud of season 2.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like if we could have had 100 episodes to practice with and come in at 101, how much we would have killed it. Like there is one segment that I really wish that we could have kept with, but it was not in the cards, and I think you know exactly what it is. It's JP outside the Alpine. Probably some of my favorite memories are the guy from Transformers.
That is in my head on repeat forever.
That's the guy we should have had on the podcast.
Oh my
like,
gosh.
There's a pure guess, like, and just never name him. Just say the guy, the Transformers guy. Like, he's hysterical.
Yeah. That just too much logistical stuff, and then eventually people just didn't want to talk. Like I was surprised how many at some point. And then also too, it's like we got to record, we got to do this. Like
I think it was because we started that during the summer.
Yeah.
And we realized that when it came to timing, we were seeing a lot of Thursday movies, so people weren't coming.
There's a lot of things to know, but if you're gonna do something like this, I think and that's what we learned, like doing those segments really can blow you up and like really gets you traction.
There were a few episodes I edited with AI.
Wow.
Because it was just getting a lot for me. And then eventually by season 2, we got Pete to come in and do our soundtrack. We love Pete's music. And the intro just really fit us so well. Like as soon as I showed it to you for the first time, you were like, yep, that's it. No notes. Not even close.
This was such a good learning experience, and to me, at times it was really difficult just to get in here. Just like you said, Dungeons and Dragons, doing my own side business. Like, if there's one thing I can say from this podcast, and then we'll talk about at the end because I have like tons of questions. Like, favorite movie? What did you learn from all this? Like, one of the biggest things I learned is that I am very confident now in my storytelling abilities from this podcast more than ever before. I am more of a creative person than I'd probably give myself credit for. I've never thought of myself in that way. I always like being the support, like on sets and stuff like that. But as I'm writing this book, as I'm doing D&D and creating stories and entertaining people, and I really think like the podcast was a perfect thing for me because like I was sitting through all these movies and I was thinking like I could tell a better story. And that, you say that very cockily until you I've never actually written something for the other world. I mean, I've written something actual,
But saying
You know?
like written something that's gotten to that level.
Right, gone to that level, or put something out in the universe that's like official, right? But it really inspired me. Like, dude, you know what? I think I have a gut instinct for what makes a good story. I think I do think I have a talent for it, and I've got to explore that more. And that's really what D&D came out of. So I credit Krista for suggesting it, and I think watching these movies, especially bad ones, as much as I shit all over them, really taught me a lot. That like, one, I care way too much about a good story. I give way too many fucks about it. So this taught me a lot. Like doing this podcast, like taught me so much about myself. And doing all like these segments, dude, I forget about the fake ads constantly. I forget like all the like, what did we do?
We had so many guests on also.
Yeah.
Our first guest was Chase. We had Eddie on for a record number, I think like 14 times. No, he was on 12 times. Pete came in, my dad, the Hurtler sisters, Ethan came in over Zoom. Mike was here. Krista, Giuseppe Rossi, we played Mortal Kombat with him in Jersey.
That's crazy.
And then Liz was here too. Like,
lots of good guests. I will say I really enjoyed if I had to pick a favorite guest episode, I enjoyed the Hurtler sisters Barbie episode. I think that's like, not to like, we love all these people on here, but that was just a fun episode to record.
I think that one's definitely up there, but I feel like Giuseppe Rossi's episode
is wild.
It's just so crazy. We just show up at a soccer player's house and we're like, let's talk about Mortal Kombat, and then play Mortal Kombat against him. And then, stupid us, we beat him in every single round. And we were like, we're not going to hold back. He's a celebrity, but we'll
stood up and cheered in this guy's fucking house, right? Craziness. I already talked about what I learned. What did you learn from this before we get to even to that?
I learned that I can talk. Like, I've been a very behind the camera person for most of my life. And I wouldn't say that I am 100% still comfortable in front of a camera. I've definitely forgotten about it when I'm here talking about movies. And I know that, like, when I'm talking about something that I'm passionate about, I don't really mind it in front of me. But if I told myself, like, you know, when we were doing What's Joe Thinking, and I was like, you're going to sit in front of a camera and talk for like an hour about different things, I would be sweating bricks. And you've seen me do it.
I've seen it.
It's not a pretty sight. I think what I've learned through this process is, one, about just trial and error. And I think learning to embrace just the craziness of the pod, finding things in the edit, I think made me a stronger editor. We're just naturally funny to each other, and we're just gonna bring that energy out of each other. But like, I just remember, like, you know, talking to different people and telling them about this podcast, and a lot of people, like, when they hear I do a podcast, they're like, really? And they look it up, and like, it's a completely different person than from what I usually am outside. Like, a lot of times, sometimes you can't even hear me speak when I'm talking to people because it's always so low. So doing something like this, I think, has definitely challenged me to kind of push myself outside of my comfort zone.
Yeah, in lots of different aspects, not just like walking out and say, "Hey, how you doing?" But in other things, I think, you like, even if you're putting yourself out there, stuff. Even for me, I've always hated doing stuff in front of camera. Like, I am way more willing now to put stuff in front of a camera too, and like putting myself out there.
And there was one person that I didn't mention here in the guests because I wanted to mention it separately, is that Sam was also a big part of that, where she gave a lot of really great feedback. She's actually the reasons why we have these hoodies.
Yeah.
And to think that we did, like, you know, 20 or so episodes with just t-shirts or whatever we were walking in on, she was like, you guys gotta look like you're doing something, and you gotta look like you're a part of something, have the merch. And that was a big thing for us. And she was also one of the first people that said we have to do video instead of audio. And you doubled down on that. You were like, we have to bring it to YouTube. We have to film horizontally. Yeah. We have to do all these different things. And I think one of my biggest regrets is that we didn't do YouTube earlier. I was it was the same thing of like, you're worried about what it's going to look like. But you're like, if you don't have the audience, like, it doesn't matter at that point. Yeah. Just push it. So yeah, just investing in the equipment to bring it to YouTube, I think, was your best idea, one of your best ideas.
Yeah, and big credit to Sam, the hoodies, everything else, like, and I think, yeah, and my biggest credit to anybody, if you're gonna try this, and I really encourage you to do it, record yourself 1 or 2 times. Banking the episode. I totally forgot we did that. That was one of our best, to hear ourselves before we do it, and like as a warm up. So smart. And that's why this practice session I just have. So I'm like, we need to practice just talking with each other. Do we have chemistry? Do not? Even us who've known each other for a long time.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many people, because we don't have a lot of viewers, but I can't tell you how many people, after I tell them, like, oh, we're filming the last episode of Take 303, or a couple weeks ago when I was like, oh, yeah, we only have like 5 episodes left. And they were like, you're ending the podcast? I was like, first of all, I didn't see anybody sharing shit about these reels. Like, nobody was sharing these. But I did, I noticed each and every time they were like, why don't you keep it going? And I was like, oh, you know, well, it's getting like busier in our lives and we have a lot more going on. Joe's getting married. We have all these things and more responsibilities. And, you know, I want to focus more on like the films that I'm working on. And like, I did this for 99 straight weeks. The last 3 weeks, I didn't even know what to do with myself. I had so much free time. I ended up doing a lot more. But every single time when I heard that, I was like, here's the thing. I've done episodes with my dad. I've done episodes with Eddie. I've done an episode with Liz. No offense to Liz. Probably the worst co-host we've had. She would agree. She was like, she wasn't ready for it. She didn't want to be on camera.
Thank you for covering, Liz. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. But the thing was, you know, as close as I am with Eddie, I think I'm just as close as I am with you. It just doesn't work. The chemistry has to be just right where you can bounce freely off of each other. And honestly, it's the funniest thing I have to share about Eddie is that I did not notice this until editing episodes with him. And he's done so many. It's so funny. And I don't think he's noticed it either because he doesn't do this in real life. But he does it anytime he's on camera. And I think it's because he's nervous. He doesn't finish sentences.
Oh, you know what I mean?
He's like, Conclave, like, here's the thing about this director, like, but that scene in the blue room. And,
yeah, interesting. I never picked up on
it's so funny because it's a nightmare to edit around because you're trying to complete a sentence. He will do the long pauses too. But yeah, it's a thing about chemistry on screen. It's very different from in person because Eddie and I, we can still bullshit like all the time. And my dad and I, we can go back and forth all the time. But the thing is about once you're on camera, once you're trying to make things comical, like you guys could also like be like stiffs, you know, when you're sitting down, you could like dummy up and like not know what to say and not know how to transition. And without the king of transitions, like
what are we gonna do?
The king, the self-proclaimed king of transitions. 5 out of 5 on the experience.
5 out of 5.
I will say, would I do another podcast again? 100%. Would I do some things differently? Yes. Yeah. Learning different things. And at the end of the day, my all-time favorite episode, King. There's so many great ones, but I think one that really stands out to me just because I always love when I have this element in my life, and it was the Deadpool and Wolverine episode. Not necessarily because of the movie. The movie was really good, but I think it was because I had you, Eddie, and Pete in the same room, and when we are all in the same room, it is just so much fun, so many jokes to be had, so much more respect for Pete than for me.
I do.
And I just appreciate it because it feels like, you know, that's my, you know, chosen family. Like, those are my best friends. And that episode has a special place in my heart. What about you?
Like, if I was going to do this again, I'm like, well, yeah, I'd probably want to do with Nick something else. But, like, I'd be really picky about who I do things with.
We do have to do our Dungeons and Dragons thing.
We do.
You promised post-wedding.
So we're gonna definitely get that. But anyway, so my all-time favorite episode, and if you cut that out, I totally get it. But my all-time favorite, it has to be. I think in general, it's actually when we gave each other movies to watch, getting to experience. Like, I definitely, even though I've known you for a long time, I learned a lot about you through your movie picks, and I forgot what movie we paired it with. The Way Back, and
I want to say that was Mannequin.
Because I look back at Mannequin, and I really like Mannequin now. It's a 4-star movie for me. And the reason that's my favorite episode is I think in that episode, I love that movie. I think I was the most vulnerable during that. And I think I really understood who you were as my friend in a different way. I really loved when we picked movies for each other because to me, in those moments, it wasn't a podcast. It was two friends getting to know each other better. If you're going to do this, pick your best friend and try because that's really and what made it fun. Yeah. So that's why that's my favorite episode because I think I got to share a little bit of myself and I got to learn more about you. Because I think before this, we didn't really talk like... I don't think you really knew what I was about with movies.
No.
Yeah.
So it's actually funny that you mentioned it. We actually did pick basically the same ideas, just something that involves friendship. Yeah, there's just something about the trading off of movies. I do that with my parents a lot, and now with Liz. But it was a very big thing between me and my mom. It's about sharing movies.
Yeah.
I think, there's like, 5 or 6 love languages. I'm pretty sure that the first one in mine is like sharing movies. Like, I do want to bring up one memory that is outside of this podcast, but very much on brand for us, is the first 2 movies we ever watched together, because it wasn't The Pope's Exorcist for this podcast. And I know which 2 it was. Do you remember this? Killer in the House. We were doing the location scouting upstate, and we were like, we have to see what it looks like overnight. So we stayed. Elaine let us stay over. And we were watching TV, and we watched 2 movies. 2 iconic movies, A Knight's Tale and The Town. 2 drastically different movies, which I think not only paints you a picture of what our friendship is like, but also paints you a picture of what kind of movies we like. Because The Town is a really cinematic masterpiece coming from Ben Affleck. So good. Jeremy Renner plays a best friend to a T.
Yes.
So good.
So good.
Which car are we taking? Which car are we taking?
Fucking car.
Which car? And then A Knight's Tale, which has no business being good. But when he tells you, no, I'm not running. I will not.
I will not.
Oh, you speak of things you do not know. That was it. That was it.
You speak of things you do not know. Oh my God. We said that so much.
Anytime on Killer in the House, and somebody was like, I think that light's in the wrong place. Oh, you speak of things you do not know.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, I think that is the basis for Take 303, and we didn't even know it.
Yeah, and big also shout out for guests. Definitely want to shout out Krista, who went with us to see a lot of these movies together, but didn't necessarily record all the time. I know it was a big sacrifice to her, giving up a lot of my time with her to do all this stuff. So I just want to say thank you, Krista, for giving me... for being very cool about giving me this time, because I think I was going to do it anyway, but, Yeah. No.
Shout out Krista in general, because you guys are getting married in 2 weeks.
Well, when this comes out, we're already married.
Yeah.
So, awesome. Thank you, Krista. I can't wait to marry you. All right. I think, Nick, you ready for our top 10? This is it. This is a big close.
This is it. It's all been leading up to this, just like how it said on the poster for Fast 5, but then there were 6 other movies after it. So who knows?
Wow, I can't believe this is the last thing we're ever going to discuss. Our top 10 movies of 2024. I feel a little nervous. Like, I'm actually like, there's a little emotion here.
We should get more popcorn in there.
Yeah.
But before we get to top 10s, we do have some honorable mentions. An unknown amount of honorable mentions.
Nick said no honorable mentions. Then I said, can I get 1? And then he goes, wait, I got 3. And now I'm at 4.
I reverse pawn starred him.
You did.
All right. For honorable mentions, I'm just going to say mine, then you say yours.
In no particular order?
In no particular order. I think Hitman was a really fun movie. I think if you haven't seen it, you definitely owe it a watch. It is so good, especially in performances. Wallace and Gromit, I saw the other day. I think there's an element that has been missing in films lately, and it's whimsy, and Wallace and Gromit just hits it on its head. And the last honorable mention I have is Speak No Evil, because I went in not knowing anything, except that it was a remake. I didn't see the original, and the whole movie had me guessing the whole way through. Even if I could understand just one of the twists, I think James McAvoy gives a killer performance in that one.
All right. My honorable mentions, I got 4 of them. No particular order. Am I Racist? Terrifier 3. Alien, Romulus. And Speak No Evil. I debated putting Terrifier on there. But I think it's a movie that had an impact this year. I'm looking forward to hearing the top 10. Nick, are you ready for number 10?
We are ready.
All right.
All right, we'll go back and forth.
You can start with 10, yeah.
Number 10 for best movie of the... So these are our best movies of the year. At number 10, I picked Deadpool and Wolverine. He forgot it. It's not on the list! He does it every time. We haven't ranked movies in a while. We used to do top fives all the time. He was always mad that he always forgot what it...
Saturday Night Live is in my honorable mentions now.
He has a fifth honorable mention.
Oh, shit. Number 10, Conclave.
Slide forward a little bit.
Yeah, sorry. Number 10, Conclave.
Number 9, Rebel Ridge.
Number 9, Longlegs.
That almost made my honorable mentions. It was really, really good. Number 8, I have Kill. It's a Bollywood movie.
Number 8, Deadpool and Wolverine.
Number 7, Challengers.
Really?
Yeah. I rethought what we said on the way there.
That movie's mid as fuck.
I'm putting it at 7.
Number 7 for me. Yeah, I'm here, and me, my dumb ass, just stay shite on his pick. Number 7, Lisa Frankenstein.
Yeah, good one, buddy.
I like that movie. All right,
I think Variety put it on its top 10 worst movies of the year. I don't understand the hate for it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad movie. I think it's a mid movie.
I mean, it's definitely a good movie.
Number 6, I have Conclave.
Number 6, I have Wicked.
Okay. Number 5, All We Imagine Is Light.
Number 5, Fall Guy.
Number 4, I have Nosferatu.
Number 4, Dune Part 2.
Wow. Okay.
You can only imagine. These are genuinely my picks. This is how you know this is my list. You can only imagine what the top 3 are.
Number 3. So this is getting to the end. Top 3 of the year. I got a Nora coming in at number 3.
Okay, it's a little rookie numbers, but that's all right. Number 3, Inside Out 2.
Number 2, I have Atom, which is I believe a Malayalam movie, like 12 Angry Men, but in India, and it's just so good.
I have to look at your list because I've got a question. I think you forgot something. Number 2, Abigail.
I did forget something.
No, you forgot a couple things. That's not even what I'm talking about.
All right.
And what's your number 1 movie of the year?
Number 1 movie of the year, I have Dune Part 2.
Where's Brutalist?
I didn't put it there because this is my top, and Brutalist falls into the category where I think Silence is, where I'm going to watch it once, and then maybe in a couple of years I'll watch it again. But these are movies that I'm going to say like, oh, let's put on Dune Part 2. Let's put on Anora. Let's put on Abigail.
Got it.
Like, these are my favorites, not necessarily what I think are the top 10 movies of the year.
Yeah. And my top 10, my number 1 movie of the year, without question, not even close. Suck my dick, Hollywood. You don't know what you're talking about. Is Anora. Not even close. Why you go to the movie theaters? It's fucking Anora every single time. Fuck you, Oscars. All right, I'm good.
And if you made it this far, you have made it to the end of the 100th episode, the closing of season 2, the closing of this series. We had a great time. This is also the closing of our 2nd annual Broscars. We hopefully will be back next year for our 3rd annual. Will JP watch all of those movies next year? Who knows? He's going to be a married man. He's got a lot of things on his plate. But with that being said, definitely thank you to everyone that's been watching. Thank you who has been sharing and supporting and commenting. Thank you to the people that argued with JP on Reddit.
Thank you. Oh, the Reddit. Forgot about the Reddit arc. What a Reddit arc. Yeah, a couple of thank yous. Thank you, Nick, for doing this or coming up with the idea. I think, as usual, Nick, I think you throw it out there to let's do it. And I'm, as always, full support and coming with the ideas. I'm definitely more the ideas guy. Nick's more the technical guy, and I think it's a good match we have. So thank you to you. Thank everyone. Again, yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for doing it. All the friends and family who helped us along the way, gave their thoughts, insight, listened to all the people out there who we never met who listened. Even if you listened to one episode, this is your first episode, thanks for listening to it. Really, really appreciate it. And with that, close it out.
Yeah.
Wow, this is so weird. This has been another episode and final episode of Take 303. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you next time. Bye-bye. Did I put money in the meter?
How far did you park?
I don't know where I parked. I definitely didn't put money in the meter. I definitely got a ticket. There is no doubt in my mind. I don't know
Not even close? Honestly, it should have just been this, just like leaning back and just eating popcorn over all the audio.
What'd you think
And
of
like,
Night Swim?
Yeah. Fucking movie, it was
Yeah.
sucked.
Yeah, blue. And this guy, like, I have this great idea for a podcast. We talk about movies, and we're funny. Super original. Like, yeah.
Works every time.
Yeah.
But yeah, like honestly, I told you, setting up all this stuff again, it was just like, we used to do this every single week.
I can't believe it. I think working with someone else, they would have been like, dude, you don't know anything about tech stuff. Like, it's one thing to have a guy who sets everything up and then doesn't have to record. You had to set this up and then actually be on to record and then break it all down. I just showed up with shitty ideas. I just showed up, gave dog shit takes on everything, like controversial shit, and I walked out of the house.
Like, Nick, I just came up with this idea about turkey stuffing.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. Dude, the ads. If there's one thing that I got more compliments from anybody in my life for who listened to it, the ads. Like, you made me have the ads, like, dude, people were sucking me off on these ads, dude. I don't give a fuck. I mean, it's over. We're gonna get DMCA'd by it. I think I really do think some of those are SNL quality.
Oh yeah, 100%. Especially with the time that we had. It's kind of like a crazy idea because I don't think anyone would go for it. But Liz was saying like, oh, you know, she was looking at our Golden Globe sheet and she was like, what do you guys get if you win? And it was like, bragging rights.
The honor of winning.
Yeah, like that's all we need.
Being the best.
And she's like, you don't have any money on this? I was like, no. I was like, we don't.
Degenerate, the gambler.
Yeah. But then Eddie goes, you know what there should be? He's like, there should be like a consequence for whoever loses. I was like, all right, Eddie. As if you're the one that needs to talk about what happens when you lose a bet. I go, what do you think it should be? He's like, oh, like they should have to get like a tattoo. I was like, no one's gonna go for that.
For the Golden Globes? Are you kidding me?
No, not for the Golden Globes, for the Oscars.
Oh, for yeah.
Yeah.
Even then,
I was like, who are we to enforce a tattoo punishment? Like that's crazy.
You've got to get an Oscar on your ass cheek